What have I been doing recently? What have I been doing recently? That's a great question.
You've been playing...
I've been playing Minecraft with you, so...
You've been playing Death Stranding as well.
I've been playing Death Stranding, that's true. That's in an ongoing, it's one of those games where, like... It's one of those games where I start playing and I play for, like, an hour, and then I'm like, okay, I need a break. Because, like... I feel like there's certain games where, like, I have, like, momentum while I'm playing them, and that's just not one of them. Like, it's like, it's honestly, I like it, but it is a tiring game to play, because it's like, you have to be very, like, mentally involved while you're playing it, as you're trying to, like, not drop, like, 250 pounds of cargo that's on your back.
For sure. Yeah, it's similar to hardcore Path to Exile, because it's just, you can't watch a movie or anything.
Yeah,
playing.
And unlike Path of Exile, there's no, like, Skinner box to keep you in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually, speaking of, you know what? That's a... I forgot that I wanted to talk about this, but now I remember.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
See? Look at you, Steven. You're just all over it.
There's a reason we do these intros.
Absolutely. Have you been paying attention to the BlizzCon stuff at all?
Yeah. You're talking about Diablo 2 Remastered?
Yeah, I'm talking about Diablo 2 Remastered.
Resurrected.
Yes, sorry, Resurrected. Jesus, I mean, do they even care about my life? Do they want to, like, completely ruin all my free time? Like,
I refuse to be excited about it.
I mean, I can't help it. Honestly, like, and again, I'm annoyed that I even feel this way, but, like, I'm even excited about Diablo 4. Like, it looks like it might be good, and damn it, like
I'm firmly in the I only pay attention to games once they're out category.
I know, and that's probably the right decision. I mean, I'm obviously not gonna pre-order it, like I'm not gonna make that mistake. Yeah. Although that being said, because you never went back and played Diablo 3, did you? Like after the initial run?
No.
Yeah, see, you missed out on quite a lot, I would say, because it actually, I mean, it's good now. Like, it's a fun game and, like, is worth playing. It took a long time, but it is worth playing.
Yeah, I mean, I still enjoyed my time with Diablo 3, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, but it's such a different game than it was. Like, because here's the thing, right? Like, because I've, like, in the past however many years since both of them came out, I've played runs, like I've done seasons on Path of Exile and Diablo 3 multiple times. Like started from scratch, did a league or season or league character, whatever they're called. And like I like both games, but I found, I think after like my second or third Path of Exile character that I went through, I kind of decided that I never want to do a season in Path of Exile ever again, because it's just too much work. Like getting even to maps, like even to like the actual gameplay, as far as I'm concerned, is just so exhausting. It takes so long. And like, I still haven't even fought the Shaper once on any of my characters, because I never get that far, like I stopped playing.
Neither have I.
Yeah. And like, I honestly, like if I was going to play Path of Exile again, I would much rather pick up where my last character left off, because my last character was like close and was good and like just needed, maybe like another 50 or 60 more hours of like gameplay to like get me there. And like if I just started from there, I think I'd be a lot happier than trying to start from scratch all over again. It's just so like, whereas Diablo 3, like I'll start from scratch anytime, because you could get to the gameplay in like 2 seconds. Like if you have somebody who started on like who's played since the beginning, and you start on like day 2 or 3, maybe even day 1, but like late in the day of any season, they're already done. They've already beaten the game. And you can, because there's no like level capping, like if they bring you into like a super high level map, you will level to the max level in like minutes.
I do like that about the Diablo series a lot more than Path to Exile, for sure. And
it does it way better than Diablo 2, because Diablo 2, it's like, I mean, you could get a character up like within like a day or two, like if you knew how to do it properly. Diablo 2 throws it all out the window and says, like, forget all that. We know what you want to do, and we're not going to fight you anymore on this. We're just going to let you do it. So, like, join like a level 5 map, Torment 5 or whatever map with somebody. They'll kill everything in front of you, and you'll be max level in like 2 runs. It's amazing.
I mean, that's too nice.
But the thing is, though, is like it gets you into the season, because like to me the season is doing the end game content. Like I don't want to play the game when I'm doing the season. I just want to do the end game. I want to have like a build within a couple days that like is not like perfect but is fleshed out and like is functional. Whereas like in Path of Exile, it's like your build isn't really functional for a long time. I mean, you're slowly working your way through it, but like you're not doing your build stuff like for a hot minute, you know?
Yeah.
Like for me it's like a week at least. And
I mean I'm certainly not advocating for the Path of Exile style. I'm just saying that Diablo 2 struck a nice balance.
I mean, yeah, Diablo 2
it took you like a day to get up to like level 70, and then you could just kind of go do your own stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess for me, like the ARPG kind of like formula has become that kind of just like, you know, like quick hit for me. Like that's what I want out of it. Like I don't want a really like Path of Exile is going in the wrong direction for me in terms of like what I want out of an ARPG.
I do agree with that. It's moving in the wrong direction.
It's like it's something that like it's more of like a game that I would actually like play solo, which is fine, but like that's not what I want to jump on with friends and just like Dynasty Warriors shit, you know, just like and that's what Diablo 3 is. Like it's just that kind. But the problem with Diablo 3 and the thing that I hope that they fix in 4 and the thing that I hope that they keep in 2, like when they resurrect it, is the endgame content. Because the endgame content in 3, like it's never really any better than just do higher level runs. Like that's there's a good cadence of like what you have to do, because it's like you have to do one kind of run to get access to another kind of run. And then there's also like a third kind of thing that you can do that like gives you some materials that are really useful and whatever. And so like it's kind of like a cycle of those 3, and you kind of, you know, you go through that. But like Path of Exile's endgame content is like chef's kiss. It's so good. Like if you had Path of Exile's endgame content, like if you had maps and the Shaper and all that shit in Diablo 3, I don't think I would ever play Path of Exile again. Like it would give me nothing to play for, because that's the thing that I like about Path of Exile is how well fleshed out and good the end game content is compared to Diablo 3, which is literally just a grind. It's a fun grind, but at a certain point you just kind of agree with yourself to stop. You're like, all right, I'm done. I mean, like the best that I did ever was on my last Diablo 3 character, and I think this is where I decided I think I'm probably done, is I think I broke into the leaderboard on like I was visible on the leaderboard for some period of time with my character. So like that was it, you know. Like I was on the page. You could see me.
So that makes me feel better about my Path of Exile hardcore playthrough, because I was on the leaderboard there too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you are like with many things. I'm sure you are much better at these games than I am. I put probably far less time into them, and I'm just not as good at video games.
Yeah, I think ultimately Diablo 2 did strike the right balance.
I think so too. I mean, like although there was some parts of Diablo, I mean, we played Diablo for like 1,000 hours, so I'm not gonna like. I love Diablo 2, but I think Diablo 2 is really like. It's very archaic. Like the more we played it, like the more that it felt its age in terms of like, why can't I just do this, you know, and why can't I just do that? Whereas Diablo 3 just went like the complete other way. It was like all the things that you want to be able to do, you could just do them, you know. And it's like we're not going to stand in the way of the fun, and that has drawbacks in that the game is trivially easy at the beginning, but like by the time you're getting to like the end game content, like. That's what you're after anyway, and the endgame content is still like it's still difficult climbing the ranks of the endgame content enough that like I get what I need out of the game, and then I just stop.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess I just prefer having like, because it's just level scaling, right? Like it's just like the same areas with the same enemies, but the level scaling changes, so it's
Yeah, I
harder
mean,
and
well,
harder.
it is. I mean, in some way, it's like maps in that, like, it is like it's like a handful of random areas with like random affixes to them, and you just like you boot one up, it's got whatever affixes it has, and then that's just like what you play.
Yeah. But it's like built into the game, right? Like
Yeah.
in a very explicit way.
Yeah, like basically you can decide how high of a level you want to go,
Yeah.
and like
Okay.
yeah, so it's like you basically say like, okay, I want to do like a map that's like, level 150 or whatever the hell. I can't remember exactly how it works, but like, it's you basically like as you beat harder and the thing with the ones that scale, because like, so there's the ones that don't scale, where it's like it goes up to a certain level, and like at a certain point those become trivially easy. So then those become a matter of like, you get a lot of loot out of them because loot actually drops in those, and also like it becomes like, how quickly can you clear those to get like the materials you need to build the hard maps. So those become an exercise in just like bring somebody that could use multi-arrow or something like that and just clear the entire map in like 15 seconds, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the hard maps, like the maps that are the end game content, like I think that they basically scale infinitely. Like you could go as high as you're capable of going, but they're timed. They're all the same time, but they're timed. And so you have to beat them within a certain amount of time. And like, I think every time you die, you have to like wait longer to come back.
Okay. Yeah.
And like, what was the other thing is like, and no loot drops until the very end. So like you get some really solid loot the higher you go, but like the loot only drops from the last boss and nobody else.
See, I feel like what's missing from that system is a sense of like occultism, of like mystery, like of hidden mystery. Like Path of Exile has that to a certain extent, but like Diablo 2 was a master in like the cow level, like the Uber bosses, like all like very weird mechanics that are never really explained in any way, shape, or form, right? Mm-hmm. And like the fact that Diablo 3 is like explicitly a game, kind of, is like less appealing in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I can get where you're coming from, although you haven't played it, and I would love for you
Yes,
to just...
that's true. Yeah.
I would love for you to play one season and see just how unbelievably hooked on it you get, because it's
Sure, yeah, maybe. When's the next season?
That's a great question.
Maybe it's tomorrow.
It might. I mean, honestly, I'd play some Diablo 3. So let's see. The current season is live.
I mean, of course.
Sorry, that's what's the most useless comment. The current season is now the season.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
More hard hitting journalism from. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's ongoing. So I guess what the point, and it started in like November. So I guess the point is it's probably gonna be soon.
February. Oh, how long are Diablo 3 seasons?
I have no idea. Probably around April is what people are saying.
Oh, okay. Wow, those are long seasons.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah, I mean, if that comes up and I remember, I mean, honestly,
Sure.
I mean, honestly, at this point, like, even if we jumped into the season now, it's like it would be great because it's like you just immediately
those are
get
extremely long seasons. Yeah, and there isn't. I guess, is trading important in that game at all?
Trading is not important at all. In fact, it's like
Trivial.
explicitly like difficult to trade. Okay, so the way trading works is basically it doesn't. If you like. You can only trade within a very short window with the people that are currently in your game. And if you leave the game, basically everything that you picked up becomes account locked.
I see.
So, but the thing is, Diablo's loot system, like Diablo 3's loot system, everybody gets their own loot, and you never are able to see anyone else's loot at any point, which in a lot of ways is kind of the same as Path of Exile's loot system in that, like, technically everybody gets their own loot, and then, if they leave the area, you can pick up their loot, but, like, if nobody left the area, technically everybody would have their own loot. But the thing is, I actually hate that system a little bit because I can see all of the shit that other people are getting, and sometimes they're getting really good stuff, and then it makes me angry on the inside.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I'm like,
that first time someone gets a unique and you don't, you're just like, God damn it.
It's like, could you fucking not?
That could have been my unique.
Yeah, and the thing is like, if there's like a guaranteed unique drop in like a thing, everybody gets one in Diablo 3. It's like, it's not like the one person gets the unique. It's like, if there's a guaranteed unique, everybody gets the unique. It's basically, it's designed with the focus on play with your friends, which is, that's what I want out of those games. It's like, play with other people, make it easy, make it fun, And that's the game, you know? Like, whereas Path of Exile feels very much like, we want you to play it solo. We're giving you the option to not play it solo.
I do hate that.
Yeah, and it's like, that's fine. And if I reframe it in my mind, and like, honestly, I've had the most fun at a Path of Exile when I'm not trying to play with other people, when I just play by myself.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but that's not what I want out of an ARPG. Like, I like Path of Exile just fine as a game. I just don't like it as an ARPG, I think is my synopsis of this whole thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. It doesn't scratch the same itch. It's still a Skinner box, but it's not the same kind of Skinner box. It's an antisocial Skinner box.
Yeah. It has a weird design philosophy.
Yeah, it's basically like, I mean, I'm glad that it exists though, because it's basically the exact opposite of Diablo 3. So if like I'm looking for not Diablo 3, but the same kind of progression, then that's what it is. It's that.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, this is good. But yeah, I am excited about Diablo 4. I hope it's actually good. I mean, like, I feel like they've got like the art style and the feel right, which was the big complaint about Diablo 3. So I think Diablo 4, I mean, is looking promising. We'll see how it actually goes. But
I haven't seen anything for it, so I have no idea.
All right, fair enough. I guess we'll see when it comes out. And I guess we'll see about, because didn't they announce it's like this year it's coming out, right? They said 2021.
Sure,
so Diablo
it's
2
gonna be
is
like December 2021.
Still
for
though.
Diablo 2.
Still, I mean, I'll probably play it. So.
Oh, I sure will. Yeah.
Yeah, so if it's good, because I mean, isn't it the same studio that did the Warcraft 3 remaster, and people are all like, about that?
No, it's explicitly not that studio.
Oh, okay, I
the
completely
good
misunderstood.
Studio, is
that.
my understanding.
Oh, okay, I mixed that.
Whatever
up.
that
Okay.
means. Good studio. I mean, you fire 2 people and suddenly you're a bad studio. So let's not get attached to studio names here, people.
Yeah, we learned that. We should have learned that from CD Projekt Red
so many times. With every company, it just constantly repeats.
Yes, just because the studio made one thing that you like doesn't necessarily mean that everything that they do is going to like shit gold forever. I mean, people used to love Blizzard, and now people are like, Blizzard.
Yeah, people used to think Blizzard couldn't make a bad game.
Yeah,
like that it was impossible.
And then Blizzard was like, hold my beer.
Yeah, it's like, let's do a real money auction house in Diablo 3. It was like, okay, guys,
you know what?
Tits.
I will say, like, I think they had, I think. Well, I don't want to say that they had the best intentions in mind. I mean, I think it was as much a money grab as anything. But I guess it was kind of one of those things of like, you guys are going to do this shit anyway, so why don't we?
Yes.
Why don't we just get a piece of the pie and also legitimize it? Which was not the wrong idea, but I think that actually Diablo 3's system works in its own right. Of like, you know what? We're just not going to let you trade. Like, that's it. You won't be able to trade. Which like. I like the trading aspect of Path of Exile, but I also hate the trading aspect of Path of Exile. Like, it is, because it is both at the same time, like, it's nice to be able to get shit you need. It's also really frustrating when people don't want to trade things at the value that they are valued at.
This is why I like Diablo 2 again so much. I'm just going to keep harping on that. It's just like, because of the way the like game system works, where you can just like have a game title and just make a trade game that people join. It's just like, it's the perfect balance of like, yes, we want in trading, but we're not going to make it absolutely god awful that requires like a third party software to use. Like, no, it's like, it's built in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that whole system with Path of Exile is insane.
Disgusting.
The way that it works. It's insane.
It's like you need like 7 programs to run Path of Exile properly, essentially.
Yeah, Path of Exile is nothing if not like obtuse. Like, it's almost purposefully so,
but not in like an interesting way. In like a
Whereas
like
Diablo was
puzzle way.
Yeah, whereas Diablo was obtuse in like this is a 20-year-old game type of way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like it's like a single player game but multiplayer.
Yeah,
and so like there's still weird single player things you can do in a multiplayer game, and like I love that stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. No, I'm glad we talked about this because I completely forgot that I wanted to talk about Diablo.
Yeah, there was big news. Yeah,
it's big news, man.
We got to keep relevant,
Good news, everyone. Good news. Diablo's out, or it's coming
again.
Again. Yeah, I know. It's like after Diablo 3, when you literally like killed everybody, they're like, but Diablo 4. I mean, there's gonna be, but there's some demons somewhere. We'll figure it out. So, shall we talk a bit about music?
Yeah, let's do it.
What Steven and I did is we each recommended 2 albums to each other, and we've been listening to them. And now we're going to talk about them. So I'll link the albums in the description if you want to listen along. And I don't normally encourage this, but because I know that nobody's going to do it. But in this case, it might be actually worth it to pause the podcast here, listen to all 4 albums, and then turn the podcast back on.
Yeah, that's definitely not happening.
Yeah, or don't. I mean, I'm not your dad. I'm not the police. You do whatever you want, but I would encourage it. But so before we start, I guess let's talk about one thing here, and maybe this is worth talking about. But I did find it interesting that because we've talked about movies, we've talked about TV, we've talked about a number of things. I feel like this might be one of the topics that we have the most knowledge on of all the things that we talk about, in the sense, and before you steamroll me too much, neither of us went to Berkeley or Juilliard or anything like that. So we don't know. This is not going to be a music theory discussion, because I don't think either of us, other than YouTube videos that I've watched and maybe YouTube videos you've watched, I don't think either of us know jack shit about music theory. So
I mean, I know as much music theory as a middle school band student knows. So
yeah.
There you go.
And that's kind of the point. Is so both of us, at one point or another, both of us were capable of reading sheet music. Both of us and both of us could be very, very loosely described as musicians, in the sense that we have played instruments in the past. I don't know
That is correct.
I don't know if you've really kept up with any instruments at all. I know that I have.
No, I still have my clarinet, and I still play it, once a year or something.
Okay.
Very badly.
I mean, that's more than me with my sax, man. I
definitely did not keep up with the drums or the bass. Guitar.
You played the guitar for a short bit too, right?
Very short. No, I don't think I ever played guitar. Only bass and drums.
Bass and drums? Okay. Yeah.
I enjoyed bass. Bass was fun.
Yeah. You weren't a fan of the drums?
Drums is hard.
Drums is
are
hard.
Really fucking hard. They're physically demanding, and you're the most important member of the band in a way.
Yeah.
So it's just you better be fucking good and keep a beat. And it's I'm not so great at that, as it turns out.
You just made bass players very sad.
I'm sorry. I mean, there's heights to everything, but
honestly,
the floor of drums is very high.
Yes.
You could be a bad bass player, and no one really cares.
You just made bass players even more sad. Bass players are just oh, don't hit me again. You're just ah!
Sorry. Yeah. It's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, I kept up with guitar. I kept up with instruments kind of in general. I got a drum set, which I'm becoming more competent on, in fairness. More competent, but, I've been playing drums for years now, and I still wouldn't sign up to be the drummer in a band or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I can keep time, and then I turn a metronome on, and I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
I'm like, unless I keep this beat real simple, I don't know that I really can keep time that well. I have a keyboard. I have a violin. I barely play the violin. I think I've played it 4 times. I'm not good at it.
Yeah, that's also one of those instruments where you better be good.
Yeah, I mean, any instrument where I have to decide the tuning with my hands is a hard instrument to do, Yeah. The guitar is I got you, bro. I got little metal strips to decide the tuning for you. Whereas violin's no, you got to put your fingers in the right place. And I'm I don't think so. So yeah, suffice it to say, I don't think either of us are of the mind of you got to build the table to be able to criticize a table, but
God, no, I hope not, because all the criticism we've been doing.
Yeah, but I do think that it doesn't hurt when you do have some experience in music to be able to criticize it. You certainly don't need to, and there's certainly much better music critics, that have never picked up an instrument in their lives, but it doesn't hurt. So that's at least at the very least, I'm just trying to explain where we're coming from. So
yeah.
Now with that, I want to ask, so why in particular, and I'll answer the same question, obviously, why in particular did you recommend these 2 albums? And I guess we should say what the albums are. So what were the 2 albums you recommended?
Against All Logic's 2012 to 2017 album. It's just a collection of songs from that time period by them. And Against All Logic is a solo project by Nicholas Yar. Hope I'm saying that name right, but I know I'm not. And it's just it's a good representation of the kind of music I listen to now. You know, it's very just like, it's song based, it's smooth. It's the kind of stuff I like now. And Boris Amplifier Worship is the other album I recommended, and that's like a blast from the past album. That's like, you know, stuff I listened to in high school, and like, you know, I still love it. But it's like it's something I would probably never put on today, but something I still think is like worth listening to as an album.
And did you recommend these albums to me because you thought that I would like them, or because you thought that they would be interesting to talk about, or both?
Boris is definitely both. I think you would like Boris. I hope you did.
I'm not saying anything yet.
Okay,
I'm not saying anything yet. Keep going.
And yeah, Against the Logic, I'm not sure if you would like that or not. It's a good album though, so I figured it would be interesting to talk about regardless.
Okay. All right. So then I recommended Ghost City by Delta Sleep, which for me is actually my current favorite album. It's a math rock album. It's kind of like, shoegazy math rock. It's a concept album, but in a good way, and not, because like there's lots of concept albums that I've listened to that I like, but I would never listen to like the individual songs necessarily. Like it's more like one of those things. It's like, oh, you need to listen to it as a cohesive whole. Whereas I think that you get something by listening to this album as a cohesive whole. But I'm perfectly happy to put on almost any of the individual songs, which to me makes it just a very good concept album. And then the other album that I recommended was Exercises in Futility by Migwa. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. It's MGLA, but the L's got some kind of weird accent, which I believe in Polish is pronounced like a W. So hopefully I got that right.
That's an accent in there. I see.
That's an accent, yeah. And I believe that accent on the L makes that a W sound in Polish. It means fog in Polish. But yeah, Exercise of Futility is a black metal album. It is very these two albums could not be probably more different. Like, whereas the Delta Sleep album is like very like upbeat and like subject matter aside, happy sounding. The Migwa album could not be more like just abrasive and like dark and all that good stuff. So I had a feeling you were going to like. I had a feeling you were going to like the Delta Sleep album. That was kind of that was my impression that like that one was going to be a hit for you. The Migwa album, I don't know what your relationship is with black metal. I know that you listen to some black metal. I mean, like I've gotten recommendations for like Amacers and Alcest from you, so I know that you listen to black metal. I don't know like how you feel about the genre in general. I feel like Migwa isn't particularly indicative to the genre. So I felt like you were either going to be like, or you were going to be like, oh yeah. So like, I was actually, this one was more of I was interested to hear what you thought of it versus the Delta Sleep album where I thought for sure you were going to like it. So then, okay, now I think we should talk about each album individually. And I'll tell you my preference is I don't care who goes first. I think we should alternate. But
that sounds good.
I want to talk about the Against All Logic and the Delta Sleep albums second. So if you want to talk...
That's exactly what I think too. Yeah. Can we talk about Migwa first?
Okay, let's talk about Migwa first. So
yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and tell me your impressions of this album?
So it's interesting you said that this is not indicative of black metal. I think that maybe shows like how little black metal I've listened to, I guess. Because this to me is very black metal. Especially like the first song in particular, Exercises in Futility 1, that's to me is just like, that's black metal. It's just like, the driving guitar and drums with like that, that black metal production. It's a little cleaner, I guess.
Yeah.
Overall. But it's cleaner like purely from a production standpoint. Instead of like from an instrumentation standpoint or like a vocal standpoint, which I thought was, I guess, yeah, the production value, I know that's a big thing in black metal, I guess, is like... It's
not recorded on a potato like most of the black metal albums.
But it's like, I don't really... That's not something that's important to me. I don't listen to a lot of black metal, ultimately. And a lot of the black metal I do listen to, you mentioned Amacers, is like I like it particularly because it's so un-black metal-y. I know another album I really like is Ulver's Burgerstadt, like their first album essentially, before they became like an electronic band.
Yeah.
Which I also like, but for different reasons. And like I like that one because it has clean vocals for a lot of the album. And it's like, so I like it because it's not super black metal-y. But I like this album. This album did, as it went on, it definitely, like, especially the middle, 2 and 3, especially 3. Like, those are just, like, good, solid, like, songs. Like, rhythmic, like, very... That's when I agree that those are not black metal songs, almost.
Yeah.
So do you listen to a lot of black metal?
So, okay.
I guess?
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? So I didn't, right? And actually, Migwa was kind of my entry point into deciding that maybe I do want to listen to black metal some more. Because like I was the same boat as you. Like I'd listen to like I don't even think I'd listen to the Ulver albums until after I'd listened to this album. I'd listen.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I basically like I'd listened to most of Ulver's like newer stuff, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they do have some black metal albums. I should go back and listen to those. But I I had started the same place kind of that you did with like Alcest and Amasurs, because you'd recommended them to me, and I guess
it's French black metal is more melodic, I guess is what it is, right?
Yeah, well, I think it falls into that kind of like atmospheric black metal, which I think this actually also falls into as well. I think it's in the same kind of rough category, but like, and I guess is I think what is it that liturgy?
Oh yeah, liturgy.
I think that counts. I think that is black metal as well.
Really?
I think
I guess that's right. Yeah, it's crazy to think of liturgy as black metal, though.
Yeah, I mean, it does sort of feel like its own thing, but I do think it's American black metal band liturgy. Yeah, I think it's fair to call them black metal.
Okay, well, I guess to me, black metal is a very narrow, like black metal is like a bunch of guys in a forest with a tape recorder.
Yeah. With a tape recorder, I mean?
Is
very right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody recorded, most of the bands like from like the apartment over.
Exactly. Yeah, these are like all like liturgy is like to me is like a fusion genre band. Like
I would say
they're
that's
black
right.
metal, but they're electronica black metal at the very least.
And I also technically I would say that before listening to Migwa, which I think is much more like black metal with fewer. It is a black metal band. Like,
yeah, there's not as many bells and whistles here.
Yeah,
it's like a good solid black metal.
Yeah. Whereas like the other one that I listened to before Migwa was Death Heaven, which I recommended to you, and I know you've listened to a little bit.
Oh, I have? Okay, I'm about to say I've never heard of that band. So.
Yeah, I know. You've listened to many things that
I've listened to too many things.
Yeah, well, that is the problem, right? But yeah. you've listened to I think you've listened to Sunbather, like the album Sunbather, or at least parts of Sunbather off of which is their I think they're probably their best album. But again, Death Heaven is more like a fusion of black shoegaze. It's the black gaze genre as it's called. Which
that's like that. I don't like the vocal work. I just put that on for 2 seconds. That's just like oof. Screamo vocal style is just like it's not right of me to not like it for no reason, but unfortunately I just don't like it.
Well, and see this is where I get into the Migwa is not necessarily indicative of black metal. And here's where I'm going to justify that. So, first of all, obviously the production value, right? Like this is a higher production value than a lot of black metal albums that I've listened to. And honestly, like all of the lo-fi black metal stuff, like pass, like I feel like almost all of those albums, they're all very samey to me. And I'm sorry, this is one of those things where like, because I don't listen to a lot of stuff from the genre, like maybe like if I spent a ton more time listening to it, I would be able to just, distinctly tell you all the differences. But like to me, all that kind of stuff, it's like, it sounds very samey to my ear, and it's not doing enough for me that I want to explore it more to understand the nuances, like full stop. It's like,
yeah. And I agree completely.
Yeah. So
I would even go as far as to say that this is like on the border of that for me.
yeah. So here's where I think that this differs. I mean, so the production values, yes. I think that the guitar work is very black metal. Like in a vacuum, like if you just put the guitar work out, this is very much a black metal album without any qualifications. I think the vocal delivery is pretty different from most black metal bands. Like, you know, this is almost closer to like a death metal delivery of like growls than the kind of like screechiness that is black metal, you know? Because black metal, I mean, you know, like
Screechiness.
yeah. I mean,
Is that what black metal usually sounds like? See, it's been too long since I've listened to other.
I mean, you talk about the kind of screamo vocals of Death Heaven, but honestly, and I mean, Death Heaven again is not particularly indicative, but like when I think about death metal, I think about growls, you know, death growls, low, you know, deep kind of stuff. Whereas black metal is high up and it's screeches and screams, you know, like that, you know, like the stuff that you know they're doing, like that one song, that one Amesir song where like, you know, she's just like absolutely like screaming and all that. Like that's black metal, you know?
See, that to me is like, I like that song specifically because I don't think that's very black metal-y.
No, that's very indicative of the black, like if you listen to a lot of black metal, like that's, you know, here, I'll give you like,
so I'm listening to a Burzum album right now. And it's like, I kind of see where you're coming from, where you're saying it's like, it's screechy.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's male screechy. Mm-hmm. It's like a growl screech, whereas like that Emissaries album is like it's screaming, like straight up like horror movie style.
Okay, go to like I'll
send
this over.
Here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna here.
So
this is how we're gonna have to do this whole thing.
This whole thing is
going
to be
experienced enough to do it in anything other than references.
Well, and it might be less with some of the other stuff, but like for this, I think it's gonna be this because I think this is an interesting discussion. But let me toss this at you. Go to around like 6 minutes 40 seconds.
Meinwafer, okay.
Yeah, Meinenwerfer.
Oh, 6 minutes. Okay, yeah, because at 9 minutes 40 seconds, like it's a German overdub, and I was like, this can't be what he's talking about.
Yeah, and so for those who want to play along at home, Meinenwerfer, Alpenpass. I probably butchered that completely, but that's what we're listening to.
Okay, yeah. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm just wrong. I just don't listen to enough black metal.
And that's fine. Like, honestly, like, it's one of these things. So, okay. And I will say this is, I spend a lot of time, like, Wikipedia, like, diving on these things. And that's part of, like, you know, like, I listen to, like, I like music history. I'm not a music historian, and I don't know enough about music history to even call myself, like, I dabble. I probably in the same way that Steven dabbles in, like, warfare history, I dabble in music history. Like,
yeah, I think that's fair to say.
I really enjoy it. And one of the things I like doing is I like listening to a band and then listening to their influences and listening to those influences, and then going back and back and back and back and back until, like, you know, we devolve into, like, you know, banging on cave walls. But so when I listen, like, I try to get to the root of, like, what are these genres, like, where did they come from and why are they the way that they are? And I think a lot of the stuff from black metal, it's like, it's these kind of vocals, like, we're part of what, you know, part of what kind of defined them as a genre, you know, in comparison to other types of, like, extreme metal stuff. So the vocal delivery, you know, very different. You know, definitely much lower and much growlier than a lot of the majority of black metal bands that you'll listen to. Mm-hmm. The other thing, though, and the standout thing for me is the drumming in this, because, and I don't know if you latched onto that or noticed that at all.
It's actually, yeah. So it's, I did notice especially in relation to one of the other albums, the Against All Logic album, the drumming here is very precise. Mm-hmm. I found that pretty impressive. It's like, you know, again, it's like, it's hard to compare to another black metal band. But like, to me, this is very good black metal drumming. Like,
yeah,
the whole album, especially, again, I'll say, you know, especially the third song, I feel had just like a lot of like motion to the instrumentation in a way you don't, I get, because usually black metal is very like, the instrumentation is kind of the same the whole way through, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that's a song. Like, black metal usually doesn't have, like, songs. Like, the whole album is kind of the same sounding the whole way through.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And, like, this is like, oh, they're, like, doing something here with rhythm in a black metal song?
It's much more melodic. It's much more melodic.
Yeah, exactly. And I like melody. And it's like, especially the cymbal work here in 3 is like,
yes. Well, that's the thing I wanted to talk about. So I was wondering if you latched on. I mean, because this is like Migwa, like as a band, like the drummer for Migwa, who is I can't remember his name. I think it Dark Side. That's right, Dark Side, because everybody in black metal's got like.
Yes, black metal is the edgelord genre for sure.
Yeah. So like his this is Ride Bell, like the album. It's like ding 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 ding
Yes,
ding.
yeah.
But like my favorite is it's track number 5. They're all called Exercise Assisted Futility, by the way,
Exactly,
everybody.
yeah.
So track number 5, like that one is just like, oh god. But let me find the exact point in that I like where it just pops off. Give me like 1 sec here.
Oh yeah, it's like 28, 20.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, he's just going at it.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
And if you've like watched like a video of him drumming, like, I mean, it's just like it's bananas looking. It's just like, holy shit, man. Like, it just looks so tiring. So yeah, I mean, Migwa for me, like, is just like, so here, a lot of people in this like that are into the scene, right? They shit on Migwa a lot. Like they don't like Migwa, and because Migwa is in a lot of ways very different in that regard from a lot of black metal. It's like don't get me wrong, there is a shit ton of blast beating in these albums. You know, I mean, if you are listening to this album at all, like, I mean, you know, there's plenty of blast beats, but it's not just blast beats all the way through. There's a lot more going on, and
yes,
I think that's. I like that, you know? Like, I feel like some dynamicism... Wow, I can't talk. Dynamicism? Is that the right way to say that? Dynamics. There's more dynamics. That's the point.
It's more dynamic.
Yes, there's much more in the way of dynamics.
Yeah, but I guess it's really those middle 3 songs, you know, 3, 4, and 5. Those are like the standouts to me.
Okay. That's interesting, because for me, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, yeah. Yeah,
3,
I can
4,
see
and
that.
5. Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? And like, if you look at a picture of Migwa, their stage dress it's like, most of them are wearing leather jackets and black hoodies and a full face, like, nylon covering. Like, so, like, you can't see their face. Basically, they look like death in leather jackets. That's what they look like, you know? And they all wear that. You don't see any of their faces, and they all look like that. It's very
they look like they're bank robbers is what they look like.
They look like bank robbers.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? And, you know, corpse paint in black metal is kind of like, you know, the thing, right? And that's how most of the bands kind of like look, and that's kind of their stage dress. And corpse paint done well can actually look very like striking and like creepy and like has the right effect. But the problem is that like face paint look, the first time I ever saw that was the band Kiss. And
exactly.
I can't not, even for a second, I just can't not see that. And like every time I see like a black metal band, I'm like, yeah, but where's Gene Simmons? Where's Starchild? Like, what's happening here?
No, I agree completely, yeah.
And so it's like, if I'd never seen Kiss before, I think that I would have a much better reaction to like the corpse paint. Like, oh yeah, that looks badass. But like, to me, I'm like, oh, they just look like Kiss. So
where's their high heels?
Yeah, where's the high heels? You know, where's the spiky like leather jacket?
The platform boots.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's tough. But yeah, so okay, so you would say, I guess let's you know, because we've talked quite a while on this first album, and I actually kind of expected this to be the one you had the least to say about. So thumbs up, thumbs down on this one?
I mean, as an album, thumbs up, sure. Like, personally, I'll probably never listen to any of this ever again.
Interesting. Okay. And you didn't did you go and listen to any of their other stuff out of curiosity?
No.
Okay. That's fair enough. So
it was, I mean, I'll be honest. It was difficult to like listen to 4 albums in completeness while paying attention to them multiple times. Like, I don't do that anymore. So it was like, oh boy, like it's been a long time since I've done this.
Oh yeah. And I will say genuinely, I don't think I ever sat down and listened to any of these albums. Like I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't devote.
Up on you.
Yeah, you probably put more in. I always listen to albums in the background of doing something else. Like
yeah, I listen that's exactly how I do it. Yeah,
I listen to a lot of these albums while like editing the podcast or when I play online chess. Like, you know, that's how I prefer to listen to albums. I did go back and I actively listened to some of the songs on these albums, like to really like like really think about them hard. But like I find that I get very distracted trying to listen to music, like focusing on it. So I tried to like listen to this in the same way that I would listen to anything else to see if it kind of like piqued the threshold of my interest. Because that's how I judge an album, right? Like usually when I'm listening to albums, it's like, well, I'm like a lot of the times when I'm listening to albums, it's like in the background while I'm like working and stuff like that, because, you know, I need something to distract my brain while I'm doing like other things. And I want that part of my brain to be doing that. And if I'm doing something and an album crosses the threshold of like, oh wait, I'm suddenly paying attention to this album now and I want to like listen to what is happening, that's usually when I say, okay, I think I like this album.
Yes. Okay, well, I think we come from pretty much the same place then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how... but I don't even listen to albums anymore. I just listen to songs. So
well, see, I'm too lazy
I've degraded even further.
I'm too lazy to change the album, so I'll put an album on and I'll just let it run until it's done, and then I'll pick something else. Yeah.
So you gotta. I just let the YouTube algorithm decide what the next song is most of the time.
I mean, that's not a bad way to go. Yeah. So yeah, this is. I think we're probably going to end up doing this format again. And if we do, I have another black metal album, because you've never listened to Oransi Pizazu, have you?
Nope.
Yeah.
And I actually already have the two bands I want you to listen to picked out.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So based on the things that you've recommended to me this time, I think that you are going to fucking love Oransi Pizazu. So, or at least the specific album. So it's definitely one we'll have to do. Okay. So yeah. So best song, worst song on the album?
Worst song's first song.
Okay.
Best song's third song.
All right. Well, there you go. For me, my favorite song is Exercises in Futility. My least favorite song is Exercises in Futility. Yeah, I know.
They have numbers. They have Roman numerals, at least.
No, I think 5 is the standout track for me. Like, that's the one that, like, I remember the most from this album. I have a hard time picking my least favorite out of it, because the other tracks for me are kind of like, okay, you know, I like all of the tracks on this album, but I think there's a very small difference between my favorite and my least favorite track on this, much more so than the other albums that we listened to. So
okay.
If you say one was your least favorite, I could probably agree with that as much as any of the other tracks on the album.
It sounded the most black metal to me.
Fair enough.
3 was the one where I was like, oh wow, this is like so different sounding.
Yeah. 3. Yeah, it definitely. I think you're right in that, like 3 through 5 is where it really pops off. Although I do really like 2, just for the it almost sounds arrogant in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like if you listen,
maybe
if you listen to like the first like couple seconds of 2, like
I do like that intro.
Yeah,
it just very quickly, like the rest of the song is just black metal.
But yeah, it's like that don't. Yes,
that is great.
Like that I don't know. Like every time I hear that, I'm like, God, it's just like it just sounds like somebody like strutting around. You know, like. It's just got that feel to me, and it's very like it makes me like want to like just kind of like bob in place as the black metal fans tend to do. But yeah, okay, interesting. So let's move on to Amplifier Worship by Boris.
Yes.
All right.
So what'd you think?
Okay. So like I said before, with the I'm listening to this. Does this cross the threshold of... This did not.
Really?
This was one of those, like, there was a couple times, but so I listened to this one while I was editing the podcast, which might have been a bad decision, because when I'm editing the podcast, there's like... What I'm doing when I'm editing the podcast is I'm basically just taking all of the silence out, which is a very, like, tedious type of thing, which means I can pay much more attention to the thing that I'm listening to. So I was paying a lot of attention to this album, and Boris is a drone album.
Yep.
And drone music doesn't really it doesn't really benefit, I think, from active listening. I think would be the way that I would put, at least for me. It doesn't really benefit. It's one of those things that's much better way deep in the background than it is like me paying attention to what's happening in a moment to moment sense. So
it's good driving music.
I could see that. So yeah, I found that this album, I think the first time I listened to this album, my initial impression was, wow, how far am I into this and nothing has happened? Hang on. on subsequent listens to it, because I feel like I listened to this album more than any of the others because I was trying to pinpoint what about it just doesn't click for me.
Yeah.
But it was better on subsequent listens. It got to the point much faster than I thought it did. But like, here's where I'm coming from, right? So I've listened to a some amount of drone music. Not much. I'm not really like, I know that you're kind of into like Sun, which I'm not so much.
I would not go that far.
Okay. You've listened to Sun.
I know people who are into Sun, and thus I have listened to Sun, but only ever in those situations, pretty much. Okay. Not that I think they're like bad or anything. Just not really my cup of tea.
Fair enough. I only came to Sun because of you. I'd never heard of it from anybody else. So I was under the impression you liked it.
Sun O, right?
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Even though it's obviously just Sun.
Yes. Well, I mean, you probably know this, but like their logo and all that actually comes from a brand of defunct amplifiers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that at some point at least.
Yeah, because I mean, I honestly, I have to resist very hard calling them Sun O because that's how you always said it.
Yeah.
So,
there's also a band called Sun, so it's like it's ambiguous.
Fair enough. Okay, well then Sun O it is. Sun O, everybody.
They kind of have to be Sun O because they didn't fucking. That's what their fucking name is. God damn it.
Yeah, but from my understanding, right, drone metal largely evolved from sludge. So like the genre of sludge, which was kind of popularized by Melvins, who I don't know if you're familiar with or listen to Melvins.
I mean, okay, well, you're using the word drone a lot, and like I agree with you in a certain sense, but I don't think Boris is not a drone metal band in any way.
I think it's more of a drone metal band than other sludge artists.
I would say they're like a noise rock band.
Okay.
They're really like...
I could see what you're saying, but when you say noise rock, I think Melt Banana, not...
Sure, yeah. Well, they're described as experimental,
yeah.
Is really what they... And like, yeah, it's... Calling it drone is like that... The middle parts of this album are like so not drone.
No.
That it feels wrong to describe it that way.
Yes. I agree with you to some degree.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have like, if the bookends of your album are hugely long drone songs, I'm gonna put you in that bucket a little bit. It's I do agree with you that the middle is much less so that, but even the middle has some pretty long sections of like that type of music. But I won't argue too much on genres because I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, yes, it is.
But at least that's like the style of music like that is that kind of like long sustained tones, and when that is like kind of prevalent, in a song, like I feel like that's if I remember the way that it all worked out, right? Is and again, so are you familiar with the band Melvins?
Nope.
Okay, so Melvins was kind of like the sludge band. Like they were the ones. Basically, it was like take punk rock and slow it way the fuck down, and that's sludge, right? And that's kind of where that came from. And a lot of bands like Sun and stuff like that, I believe are. I mean, I can't imagine do not have Melvins as an influence because basically what they said is not slow enough. Like, and of course, bands like Sun also took a lot of inspiration from like Black Sabbath and stuff like that, like of Doom, so it's all kind of in that sort of genre. And like Doom metal is sort of in that same vein of like, take heavy metal and slow it down. It's kind of all the same thought. And I listened to a decent amount of sludge bands like Cult of Luna, and early Mastodon. Like I like that kind of like sludge metal. Like I like that stuff. Like I dig it. But I feel like sludge metal went a different way than like drone went. Where drone was like slower, whereas sludge was just like heavier. Like down tune, slow, but not like super slow, and like a lot of bass, a lot of, that kind of stuff. Whereas a lot of the songs on this album, to me, like they lack the quality of which I would be able to call them music, and I would start to call them more like tone paintings. That's not true of the entire album. Like,
That seems like a compliment almost.
Yeah, it is. Like I don't like, but I don't want to listen to it.
I think that's more what they were. Yeah, it's not a. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's amplifier worship. Like it's literally.
Yeah.
What it is.
And I think I knew what I was getting into with the title of the album, right? Yeah. Like, you know, it didn't surprise me what I got.
So did you, like, even if you didn't appreciate it as something you would listen to, which is not, like, it's not a casual listening album, right?
No.
Like, do you appreciate, like, the amplifier worship part of it?
So here's the thing, right? So I've seen Melvins live, and Melvins... Mm-hmm. And like, if you should actually go back and listen to some, like, especially you should listen to the album Lysol by Melvins.
Okay.
Because you'll see a lot of where this came from. But like, I saw Melvins live, and
hey, let's not bring live performances into this. That's not fair.
No, hang on. I'm going somewhere with this.
Okay.
So I saw Melvins live, and there's a lot of songs by Melvins that are faster, right? And like, you know, have a little bit more of like, you know, actual melodic information. But there's a lot of songs by Melvins that are like drony, because I mean they're kind of like the progenitors of like that genre in a lot of ways. And those benefit so much from a live performance, because being in the moment and, you know, like actually standing in front of those giant cabinets and like hearing it is a different experience than listening to it on a pair of headphones in my basement.
Yes.
And I think that Boris would benefit extremely from seeing them live.
Okay. Yes. I could agree with that. They are definitely the kind of band that you should probably see live. Yeah.
And also bring earplugs. I seriously, like, this is like PSA to everybody. Like, yeah, you think you like, I used to go to all concerts without earplugs, like, which was stupid, but like I used to go to all concerts without earplugs. When I saw Melvins, that was the loudest fucking concert I've ever been to in my life. Like, it was actually physically painful. Like when I left, like my ears hurt, my eardrums hurt, and I was like, my hearing was fucked up for like several days. Like,
you need to wear earplugs, people.
Yeah, man. Like normally, like when I go to when I used to go to concerts, it's like, you know, it's like at the end of the concert you'd be deaf because it's loud, you know, and then like you'd wake up the next morning, it'd be fine. With Melvins, I was worried my hearing was never going to get better. Like it was a little bit scary, and I've brought earplugs to concerts ever since. So, pro tip: wear your fucking earplugs. It's a serious business. So
see now. The way you've described Amplifier Worship makes me regret not recommending their other album that I like, Pink.
Well, yeah.
Because I think you would have loved that album.
So, Steven, don't worry. I got you. I listened to Pink.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I was like, is this the band or is it the album? And so I was like, I'm going to listen to... Yeah, so I was like, I'm going to listen to Pink. And I was like, oh, I like Pink. So it's just the album. It's just
Pink
the
is
album.
also my favorite album by them. I just think that... Amplifier Worship is like, it's a song, right? Like, it's technically, there's multiple songs on the album, but it's really like, it's 2 songs, and then like, that last song, Vomit Self, was like recorded later in a different place at a different time. So it's kind of like a bonus track.
Okay.
And so it's like, it was that time in my life when I listened to song albums, essentially. Okay. And so that's why I wanted to recommend it. It's like, it's very representative of like, that was the kind of thing I listened to, where that was really just one song to me.
Okay.
You know? And that's how I kind of think of that album.
So I will say that like the entire title track, Huge, did basically nothing for me. Like,
oh really?
It barely tripped the threshold of me even paying attention to it. Right. Gamboki. That here's what kept coming to mind when I listened to this album is basically like, because there's some good parts in Gamboki, and there's some good parts in Hama and Kuremizu. Yep. Like all those have good parts. But I kept thinking, I was like, is the juice worth the squeeze on this one? Like, do I want to listen to this entire thing just to get to the part that's like, oh yeah, you know? And I guess my answer to this one was no.
Yep. Like, it's interesting you say that, yeah. Because I listening to this album again, I pretty much have the same opinion of it as you do.
Okay.
Which is just like, it's a young man's album. It's the kind of thing you listen to when you had a lot more time, and you could like really let it like seep in you, I guess.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying, and that's just that's where this like so. But I think the high point of this album for me is Kuremizu. which
Yeah.
is there's some passages in there that actually are very much similar to like that Death Heaven album that I was talking about, of like that kind of like, you know, like floaty kind of like guitar sound, very like, you know, I think it's around, let me just find the point in the, like around 38 minutes. I mean, honestly, like there's parts of that are even kind of like explosions in the sky, that kind of like post-rocky.
Yes, no, 100%. Yeah, and this is also in my post-rock phase. Right in that phase of like, yeah, I listen to a lot of post-rock, a lot of prog music, and that's all, you know, these like long, you know, overlong, right? Like, how do I want to describe it? It's like they explore an idea like to the ground.
Yeah, and that's where I come up with like this is more of like a tone painting. It's like this is art to be appreciated, but it's like it's almost like there's like, especially like the first and last tracks, they're basically, to me, they're not actually music. Like I feel like in order for it to be music, it does need to have some kind of discernible like beat or cadence, even if that changes a lot. Like if I can't separate it from just being noise, it's very difficult for me to understand it like from an intellectual standpoint as music. So like to me, this is like those first two tracks, like the first and last tracks, they're almost like, to me, they're more like art installations, and they're good art installations. And like, I feel like if I experienced them live, I would appreciate them a lot more, but it's not like a music that I could listen to. It's something.
Music to me is just like audio art. So I think you're kind of being, I guess, what reductionist or something. What would the word be?
And like, I'm not saying this isn't music, by the way, but like to me,
yeah, I've listened to too much like weird Kevin Drum shit for me to even like this is so far in the music category to me, because like there's like fucking like, you know, weird like dropping neat like nails on a guitar stuff out there that's like even more ridiculous than this.
Yeah, and I'm not making the argument that this isn't music. I'm making the argument that to me this doesn't trip the threshold of being music.
Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, on the first and last tracks specifically. The middle stuff is even very clearly
the last
music.
Track.
I
wouldn't even call the last track part of the album.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, like, standout track for me, Kurimizu, like that's the one that if I was ever going to go back and listen to it, and I probably won't, but
yeah,
if I was ever
like
going,
Pink.
I liked Pink. Yeah, I enjoyed Pink.
Yeah, great. That's my favorite album by them, so I'm happy.
And I think that you should go back and you should listen to Lysol.
By the Melvins, yep.
By Melvins. And you should also listen to, and again by Melvins, just to kind of see that, because Melvins is kind of like, you could kind of see where different bands went, is if you listen to Houdini by Melvins. So those albums, by the way, it's interesting. Lysol and Houdini are like, it's like Lysol and then Houdini. Those are the order of the albums. They were like 1 year apart from each other, and they could not be more different. And like, if you listen to like, 10 minutes of Lysol and 10 minutes of Houdini, Lysol is, I think, the direction that Boris went in. Houdini is the direction that all of the bands that I like went in.
Okay.
Give me your best and worst of the.
Yes. God, that's hard for me, because it's like, I don't respect the way they've split up the songs on this album in any way, shape, or form. So it's like the second half of Ganbu Kai through to all the rest of Hama, I think, right? Is that how I split up in my mind? No, Hama is where it starts for the next song. No, okay, so no. All of Hyuga and Ganbu Kai is like my favorite. And then I don't even consider Vomit Self part of the album, so I guess that's my worst.
Yeah, okay. So we at least agree on the worst.
Yeah.
That whole song is incredibly long and does basically nothing for me.
Yeah, they already got the point across with Hugh. I don't feel like Vomit Self was necessary. And again, it was recorded later at a different place at a different time. So it's like, was it really even part of the album? Like, it's a bonus track, for God's sake.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, shall we talk about Delta Sleep?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, go ahead.
I listened to this a few times. I was surprised to learn that they're a math rock band after the fact, although that does make the album make more sense in context for me. It's a very it's a concept album, I guess.
Oh, for sure.
And I've kind of I've moved on from concept albums. I've listened to so many concept albums that I'm not really interested in that genre again. This was a good one though, because it like each song felt complete in a way that usually concept albums don't do, which was interesting. I liked that a lot, even though thematically I think they linked it together pretty well. I liked it. It's definitely something I would like take a few songs from though. But like as an album, I could probably take a pass.
Okay, interesting. And what is this album about in your opinion?
Working in a city's so bad, wah wah wah. I guess that's about as much as I got out of it, because I don't really listen to lyrics like for meaning. You know, they're like purely another instrument to me most of the time, and so like only the most blunt messages will get through to me.
Okay.
So if there was some nuance here,
there wasn't.
I was supposed to get.
There wasn't, but
I definitely did not get it. Okay.
This album, so Ghost City is an album about escaping like a dystopian city, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Is what the album is about. Like it's, I mean, like
right over my head.
Yeah, like you know, the city watches everything you do. You know, like that. Like all that. You know, it's about like a
completely over. Nope.
Yeah, it's about like escaping. You know, and like you know, at the one part, like he's talking about like you know, like. If I ran to like the outskirts of the city, they take me back, but I just try, you know, I try to run away again and like, you know, whatever.
Interesting.
This album is 100% like I am trying to escape a dystopian surveillance state is what it's about. And like, to me, this brought so vividly like thoughts of like Dark City, the movie.
Oh.
And even to some degree, things like Half-Life, and other things like that, where it's like these kind of like, you know, Eastern European feel, like dystopian surveillance states. And like the difference between like this, like I got very vivid imageries of like the movie Equilibrium, you know, where it's like this like concrete, like brutalist architecture versus like, you know, like the nature outside. I mean, obviously Equilibrium's a little bit less like nature outside, but like, all of that was like very vividly brought to mind when I listened to this album. And like, it just like, it hits a chord with me. I don't know what it is about it. Cause like, I love those kind of movies. Like, I mean, I love Dark City, you know, like the idea of escaping from like this like horrible, like, you know, cityscape into like Shell Beach, you know, in the end of Dark City spoilers. Sorry, everybody, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. You just dropped that one.
Yeah. Like that imagery like kept playing over and over again in my mind when I listened to this album, which is I think part of the reason why I like it so much.
Yeah, unfortunately I was never going to get that. I mean, maybe if I'd listened to it for like a couple years, and I'm serious here, like if this had been like a regular rotation for like 2 or 3 years, maybe I would have eventually figured that out. But the way I listen to music, like the lyrics are the last thing I'll ever pay attention to. So like, to me, everything was just like when I would hear stuff Tim talking about, like, you know, working or like, you know, going to the city, I was just like, okay, it's about city life. Sure, whatever. And like, I got that it was like bad, but I figured it was just like figuratively talking about like how the modern work cycle is bad. I didn't understand that it was a literal bad city.
And I think it helps that like, I mean, I love math rock. Like of the genres that I listen to, like math rock is at the top of things that I love. Like I really enjoy it on a very fundamental level. Like it does it for me. And so like this album already was like an easy sell for me. And so I listened to it like a shit ton. Like I listened to this album like on repeat when I first listened to this like a year ago or 2 years ago or whenever I started listening to it. Like I listened to it once and I was like, I just want to listen to that again. And then I listened to it again. I was like, I want to listen to that again. And I listened to it again. And I just kept listening to this album over and over and over and over and over again on repeat. So and also like for me, like I am actually kind of in the same boat as you, as I don't really pay that much attention to lyrics, but because the lyrics like are pretty prevalent in this, honestly.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And they're, you know, relatively easy to understand. Like it's not like a lot of albums where like it's very difficult to tell what the hell the singer is actually saying. The lyrics were pretty clear in this overall, you know, so I found it easy enough to pay attention to it. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it does it for me, man. Like I really liked it, and I like the imagery that it brings up for me. And actually, I'd be interested to hear, knowing what it is about, like, you know, if you listen to it one more time, I wonder if you'd pick up on more of that. But
yeah, well, I'm trying to listen to it again now a little bit here.
the good one I think to listen to is I think it's Dot Work actually.
Yeah, see, that's another problem. Is like, I mostly liked the transition songs on this album. Like Ghost or Dream Thing. There's some I like El Pastor a lot.
Yeah, El Pastor and Sans Soleil to me are those are the two tracks.
Sans Soleil as well. Yes.
Sans Soleil and El Pastor are ones that I could easily at any time listen to by themselves. But go to it's Dot Work. It's around 21-27.
Okay, you're talking about like the guitar part here.
Well, and also like. You probably skipped over the lyrics again, but like even the lyrics is there must be more to life than concrete walls. There must be more to life than concrete walls.
That doesn't strike me as like, that's just to me like that's just a poetic way of saying like, people are trapped in their, modern lives. Like, I don't read that as like a literal statement, I guess.
I think so in the context of the larger album and like all the things that he's talking about, because like, I mean, the album basically, like I said, it's a journey out of a dystopian city. And the journey, I believe, like he escapes at El Pastor. Like that's the point when he's out of the city, because El Pastor is talking about like, he wakes up like tired and exhausted, like in nature, and outside of the city, and he's finally escaped.
I see. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the album more around that point.
I would love for you to listen to it one more time through and like just let me know what you think of it, because like that, and also I just love how it's bookended with the same essential like thing. It's like that soft sound so soothing.
Yes, I will say to not to skip ahead here, but I do like the first song the best.
Oh God, that intro to me is like, it's just like it really does. It feels like going into a story. Sorry, go ahead. I keep.
Oh no. It's you obviously love this album, and that's great. It's the first song. The first song to me is almost like I don't need the rest of the album. It's like it so perfectly encapsulates like everything else the rest of the album does. It's sort of like great, like that first song was kind of, you just did it right there.
And I love the alliteration in the vocals.
And that's what I guess I didn't notice it was alliteration, but I do love that line. And because of the way I listen to lyrics, it's just the noise.
Yeah.
And so like the way it's like smooth like that. Yeah, I love that.
I should have mentioned that to you, that this is an album where you do actually have to pay a little bit of attention to the lyrics.
When you said concept album, I thought you meant like, quote unquote concept album. I didn't realize you meant like literally it's fucking like Zeltoid the Omniscient.
Yeah, this is literally this is Scenes from a Memory. This is
except I didn't realize that.
Yeah, except for Scenes from a Memory. And so that's the thing, actually. It's an interesting talk about, like, because I think you and I are in the same boat. It's like you said, you've kind of grown out of concept albums, which I know is the wrong term, but it's like
it's not grown out.
I've moved past. Concept
I've
albums.
Experienced that journey, and it's fine, and it was great, and I'm good.
And my entry point into concept albums was Scenes from a Memory from Dream Theater.
God, yeah, fucking Dream Theater.
Which, in a lot of ways, is a really good album, but like most of the tracks are not good in isolation. They're only good in the sense of their like. It's the same with like The Wall or any of that shit, where it's like half the tracks are like okay, but like are there songs?
Yeah.
So this album, to me, it's like, that's what I loved about it, is like everything works together in concert, but at the same time, you can pick out almost any individual track out of this album and it's good, with the exception of like, I think maybe the only is like Glass is maybe the only one that isn't really a song. And I guess Ghost isn't really a song, but like everything else in here is a song, like is something that you could just listen to completely by itself.
It's funny. I actually really liked Ghost as a song. I liked it.
Is Ghost a song? I guess let me listen.
It's not. It doesn't have lyrics. I don't think. It's just a transition. But like, I liked.
Oh, it is good though. Yeah, that like.
It's a good song.
Wow. Like it is really. But yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't need something to be long and have lyrics and like a proper song structure for me to enjoy it.
But yeah, Sultans of Ping though, the initial track, like it's
so good.
It's like every time I would turn it on, I was like, "Oh god!" And then I just have to listen to the whole album. Like that was what happened. Is like I would listen to the first track and I'd be like, "Well, I guess I'm listening to the whole thing now." This is fucking great.
And part of the structure of it being like very like each song is its own thing. That also made it hard for me to see it as like a complete concept album, like that kind of worked against it in a sense.
It's definitely one you do have to pay attention to the lyrics
I
to
didn't
understand.
pay attention to it as the game was rigged from the start, you know.
Yes. So, favorite track on this album?
That's hard. Can I say 7 and 8?
Yeah, you can, because I would say the same thing. I think I like Sans Soleil a little bit more, but I do find every time I go back to this album, I forget which one I liked better. I'm like, wait, which one do I like better? Is it Sans Soleil or El Pastor? I feel
like they kind of flow a little bit too.
They do. It's almost like one big track. I would say I think I like Sans Soleil just from purely a lyrical perspective. I think I like Sans Soleil a little bit more. But I like them both a lot, and I do feel.
And I guess to balance it out, I'll say I like El Pastor a little more, just because I'm not, I've listened to a lot of math rock, and I don't really listen to it anymore. So the less math rocky the song was, the more I liked it. So I'll say El Pastor.
Fair enough. And then least favorite?
I don't know. Maybe like Dot Work. I think actually
Dot Work is actually another one of my because
it's the most precise math rocky song.
That's probably true. Although I love that that little guitar part after there must be more than concrete walls, like that bit. It's like must be more to life than concrete walls. Like that part.
Yeah, I like that.
Every time it gets to that part, I'm just like, fucking yes, it's so good.
I'll just say that, and you should just listen to Minus the Bear more.
Well, I love Minus the Bear.
Yeah, it's just because that is all of their guitar work is like that.
I know.
Not crunchy. I gotta back off from crunchy. I know crunchy is reserved for
Rolls.
Another band. I don't remember.
I know exactly. I mean, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I love. I've listened to every Minus the Bear album. I like Minus the Bear a lot. So, but yeah, okay, fair. Yeah, I think my least favorite is probably Glass, which is kind of cheating because to me it's just a transition song and it's the least going for it. But yeah. So this is my favorite album. This is, I think, it doesn't contain my favorite song, which I think is still reserved for "Sleeping in Traffic" by Beardfish, because how could it not be? I mean,
wow,
what a masterpiece of a fucking 30-minute magnum opus. But this, honestly, though, it does kind of the same thing, because I think that doesn't Beardfish kind of bookends as well a little bit. There's I think it's a similar motif at the beginning and at the end, if I recall correctly. And this, of course, does a very similar thing in that it has that kind of bookended motif that I really, really like.
So I'm gonna dive into a little bit of music theory here, and talk confidently about something I don't really know very much about. So I'm probably just wrong, but I think they're trying to imitate classical song structure.
Okay.
Like literally classical, because that's classical music is all about variations on a theme, generally. So you introduce a theme, then you do a little variation on it, and then do another variation, and then you return to the theme with the slight variation change potentially. And so it's concept albums are very high. Concept albums are very high concept. See, we can both do it. We can both be Captain Obvious. And so just because of that, they want to imitate classical song structure in that way, and do a variations and a returned theme kind of thing.
Yeah, I think in a very limited way, that is true. I mean, this is because
yes,
I think that argument could be much better made for something like Scenes from a Memory, where it is literally the same motif over and over again in a lot of ways. But this definitely does that in a much more limited way.
It's more conceptual. It's not as direct.
But I think in this sense, it is literally that. It's a bookend. It's we're opening and then we're closing with the same thing in kind of a different in a different way to kind of say, okay, now that completes the concept album. That kind of wraps it up in a nice binding.
Yeah.
So, would you listen to this album again?
I would listen to songs from it again. I probably will just add Sultans of Ping to my playlist and have that a song.
That's fair.
But I really do feel that is that song is kind of the high point of the album.
It is a really, really, really good. Every time I hear that first track, I'm sucked into this album. I just want to listen. I have played so much chess with this album in the background. I have played hundreds of games with this album in the background.
This does remind me now, just for some reason. You listen to The Suburbs by Arcade Fire?
No, I have not. I have actually never listened to the Arcade Fire full stop. Even though
I might have to recommend that album next time, or you might just want to listen to it, because this thinking about it now, this reminds me a lot of that style of. You might like that a lot.
Okay.
It reminds me a lot of this now.
Link it in the Discord.
Oh yeah, you're right. I should do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I would love for you to listen to this one more time and like pay attention to the lyrics a little bit. Like, do whatever you want.
I would need to take the lyrics out and just like go.
Yeah.
Listen to them with them on, because that's the only way I'll be able to do it. Because I can't keep it in my head.
Fair enough. All right. So shall we move on to
yes?
What is it? 2012 to 2017 Against All Logic.
Yep.
Okay. Fuck you, Steven.
Oh, yeah?
Dare you keep this album from me and not tell me about it, you bastard? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck,
yeah.
dude. Like,
yeah, dude.
What? Like,
yeah.
This is one of those albums, right? Where like I was doing stuff in the background, right? Well, like I was listening to this, and like at multiple points, I would just be like, fuck. Like, oh my God. Like, like, oh dude, like the fucking, like track number 8, you got me hooked. Okay. Like just go to around like a minute on that. And then at what, 116? Oh dude, like that drop, like boom. It was like, oh my God. Yes. I was listening to that. I was just like, fuck.
The way this album uses like artificial distortion is insane,
dude.
Or maybe it's even real distortion. I don't even know. I mean, with the way some setups are, he could be producing it actually.
Oh my God, this album is fucking fire, dude. Like, holy shit. Like, and it's okay. So it's interesting, by the way. So like, I did my research, right? Because you know when you just drop some shit like this on me, you know, like I'm like, okay. So, you know, because I listened to Pink by Boris, and I think that you had somehow managed to like you linked the wrong album for Boris and the right album for Nicholas Yar, because I listened to some of his other stuff, and like I was kind of hoping it's very different. And like I honestly, I need to go back and listen to it with like a fresh mind, knowing that that's the case, because I want more of this. Yeah, I want. You will be
disappointed. There's only one other album of this,
and it's not the same.
It's not. Yeah, it's not as good.
Because what 2017 to or whatever the hell the other one's called. Like, it's not this. It's okay. Like, I started listening to it. I was like, okay, but like oh my, because I guess this is like categories is like what, deep house, where it's like it's using
this is some crazy house music.
Yeah, because like I think deep house it uses like a lot of like samples from that era, like of like kind of like got like soul music samples combined with house music is my understanding of how deep house works.
Okay, yeah, that's more than I ever knew.
Yeah, and I did my preliminary 30 seconds of research on this yielded basically soul music plus house music equals deep house. So okay,
it's like a better version of lo-fi. It's kind of how I would describe this.
God damn it, dude!
Like you know how you like lo-fi? Well, here's lo-fi with like someone who actually like it produces music for a living.
Like this album is fucking untouchable. Like, it's so good, man. Holy, like I almost don't have anything like insightful to say, because it's just so fucking like okay, people out there, listen to me, okay? Just shut up for a second and listen, all right? If you like house music, and if you don't like house music, if you just like music, okay? If you like music.
This is the first house music album I ever listened to, and it kind of ruined the rest of the genre for me.
If you like if you like music, okay? If you're a human being, listen to this fucking album. Like, holy shit. And like listen to it on like a good set of like headphones or speakers, by the way, because like the bass is very necessary.
Very important.
Yeah, like this is like the combination of these like 70s samples with like all of like this like really like this like the layering of sound, like there is like a 15-year-old me that like would be like, but like this is all done on a computer, you know? But like I've since very much moved on from that point of view of like this dude is a modern composer, you know? This is a person that's basically like, I understand composition to a degree that is fucking insane. Because like all of this, like if you had told me that there was no samples in this, all of these performances, like all these vocal performances and stuff that are included in this were all recorded for the express purpose of making this album, I would believe you 100%. There would be nothing that would dissuade me from that notion. So when I realized, oh, these are just all samples that he's like melded into these incredible fucking tracks, I was just like, oh, this guy's a genius. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's one of those benefits of like, this is 5 years of him cherry picking songs that he's made.
Yeah, well, it's
it shows.
Yeah, it's a good list. He did well. I wish that his other stuff was like this, because man,
what albums did you listen to by him? Other than
I
his
listened
main stuff under Nicholas Yar.
Space is a something or whatever the hell it's called.
Oh, that's okay. That's the one I was going to recommend. So if you didn't like that,
it's not that I didn't like. Here's the thing.
Okay, yeah.
If I need to go back and listen to it without like coloring my expectations with this album, because that's the problem.
You're not going to get this.
Yeah, it's like I need to know that I'm not going to get this album, and I need to just listen to it because I'm sure that it's very good. Like, I'm sure that there is like, but I am so glad that you linked this one in particular, because, like, fuck, man, like, Jesus, like, I don't have like concrete thoughts. It's just like, go ahead.
I did discover this album a few years ago, so I've listened to it enough that I do have concrete thoughts about it.
Give me some concrete thoughts so that I can bounce off of them.
So, first off, the first song on this House album is "This Old House Is All I Have."
Yeah.
And I just want to point out how great that is as a first song title.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Just like, and I really do feel like this album in particular is like a very like explicitly like the song titles are him like saying something to you. So like, first of all, just the way he uses distortion on this album, I said it earlier, but it's so like, the first time people use distortion, like in like rock music and like early blues, I guess, probably, like that was one level. And like, this is the next, like this is stepping it up, I almost feel.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like really like it feels like you're listening to this on like an old record player or something.
And the thing is like
really well done.
Even though that's the case, like the production on this is meticulous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the distortion is part of the rhythm.
Yeah. Oh god. And that like I mean like the way that he uses samples on this, like I said, it blend like I mean even like what track 6, Such a Bad Way, that scream from I guess it's Kanye West's I Am a God or whatever, like it's so abrasive and it fits perfectly into the song. Like it's just like
You're talking about the ah ha 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 ha.
No. Maybe I'm thinking the wrong song.
Yeah, no, you need to point it out to me. I don't remember that scream in Such a Bad Way. You're not saying when he goes such a bad way.
No, at 307 in Such a Bad Way.
307. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I don't even think of that as a scream. That's just like more music.
But like, it's just like it's like yeah. I mean, that's the thing though. It's like it should be. I mean, it's jarring, but like it's jarring in a way that you're just like yeah. You could even say it's yarring. I'm sorry.
I love
You're not even going to acknowledge that?
Nope, no. We're just going to skip right by that one. Yeah. No acknowledgement. I love in I Never Dream, the second track, the way he uses, because, I listen to vocals as instruments. Mm-hmm. And so the way he uses vocals here is exactly how I listen to them, right? It's just like they are just instruments.
Oh, yeah.
Just like the way he like uses the vocals to like rhythm. Just like, I love that.
Yeah, like the looping kind of like, yeah.
Comes in around like, I mean, it's the whole,
yeah,
it's
the
30
whole
seconds, I guess. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I mean, like this is anybody that tries to make the argument that, like doing music like this on a computer is not, is somehow like a lesser form of music than what people perform live. Like, listen to this album and then fucking come at me, bro. Like,
yeah. like in particular, I think Hopeless, the fourth track, the way he like offsets the beats is like that's not possible to do really live in like a reliable way. I don't think. Like,
I mean, I've seen some pretty talented fucking people, but
sure. I mean, I'm sure it literally is obvious.
But like that being said, like it's just such like a nice like it's excellent composition is the way that I'll describe it. It's excellent composition.
Hopeless, like he builds the song in reverse, and that's like I don't know. That's just crazy. Like he does the offbeat first, and then he builds his song around his offbeat. It's like okay, yeah, you can do that. I guess that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like this is one of these albums that I wish I knew more about music theory so that I could analyze this properly, because I feel like this is such like a deep album that I am appreciating it on like probably one of the most surface levels of just like this is insanely amazing. Like forget all of the production and the composition. Like I just like when I was listening to this, like it took like very little time before this was like, hey, pay attention to me, you know?
Yeah.
Like and I was just hooked. I was like, it just drew me in so much as an album. In fact, I think there's really only one track that like I think, and it's not a bad track. It's just that like I don't there's not as much going on with it. It was just flash in the pan.
There's a few tracks actually I feel that are because I know to a certain extent this is like meant to be played as dance music.
Oh yeah. Right? And I feel
and so
that.
Like,
and I feel
oh yeah,
that.
no, I mean yes, you do. It's bubbly. And so like I can forgive repetition to a certain degree, but I feel like there are some tracks where like you could cut 30 seconds here or there and it would just like it would be a stronger track. It would just weaken it as like dance music maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I could probably see where you're coming from on that. I don't
like Some Kind of Game, for instance. Like that like middle bit of like just like
yeah, that dun 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 dun, dun, but I mean I fucking
it's like
love
you know they do that for like a minute straight and it's like you know I get it like but you could move on a little faster.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's a little bit long in the tooth.
But the thing is, like, it makes me like actually like want to like dance
To it. Yeah.
Like
exactly.
And nothing does that for me. Like I'm not the kind of person that like, you know, is really like that. And like when I hear this album, I'm just like, fuck man, I just want to like dun, 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 with the piano. It's like
so many of my notes for songs on this are just like hype, smooth, continually hype.
Dude.
One of my notes, straight up funky dance track.
Yeah. This whole album is fucking hype, man. It's just like, oh, Jesus Christ. So yeah, I mean, Flash in the Pan is the only one where I'm just kind of like, I think because this is Flash in the Pan, I think is the most kind of like experimental one and the one that's furthest from all the other tracks on the album. Like if you took out Flash in the Pan, I almost think that it would be a stronger album in general.
Yeah, I mean, that was clearly him literally being like, I'm going to make an album that sounds like water boiling away in a pan.
Interesting.
And it's like, and then build a song on that. And it's like, cool, dude. Like, you do you.
Yeah. So, best song, worst song?
You know, I think it's just because my attention fades as I continue listening to an album. But I'm honestly just going to say This Old House Is All I Have is my favorite track.
Wow. It's like first track of every album. You're just like, yep, that's the one that I paid the most attention
like,
to.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the one. I like that.
Jesus.
Although, actually, I will say this. I do also, I'm going to cheat again and say that I think This Old House and Never Dream are like, they merge into a single song for me in a lot of ways.
I do agree with that. They very much blend together.
Yeah, like I feel like though nothing else really does that on the album, but that does. And worst track? It might be Some Kind of Game for me.
Really? Okay.
Like I love the Hallelujah, but I've listened to it so much, this album, that like the novelty has worn away to a certain degree on some of the stuff. And so like Some Kind of Game doesn't go anywhere.
Okay.
Like it's just that the whole time, and that maybe is the track. The whole middle of the album drags a little bit for me, I guess, is really what it is.
Really?
But that one in particular is like the 6-minute songs, I guess. Like Some Kind of Game. Oh no, I guess it's not the middle. Okay, no, Some Kind of Game and Know You maybe? No, Hopeless. No, that's not it. I don't know. Definitely Some Kind of Game though, I think is my weakest track for me.
Fair enough. For me,
what about you?
For me, Now You Got Me Hooked, number one. No question. Everybody says City Fade. Everybody that I've like read on Reddit is like, oh, City Fade, City Fade is good. Like the intro to City Fade is like, ooh, it's good. But Now You Got Me Hooked, like that drop at 116, it just like, it gets me every time, man. It's just like, it's so like, it's.
Oh yeah. I forgot how good City Fade was.
Yeah, City Fade's, I mean, starts out amazing.
This is a really good album.
Yeah, this is a great album. But yeah, Flash in the Pan for me is easily the least, like, I could remove that one from the album and I don't think I would lose much.
Yeah, I do. It's a little, I like Flash in the Pan, I guess, because it reminds me a little bit of Boards of Canada in like a very small way, because of like just like the tones he chose to go with are like very watery to me. And I like watery music for some reason. And that's a weird way to describe it, but if you listen to the song, I think you'll know what I mean when I say watery.
It's just so different from everything else on the album. Like, it doesn't
fit.
And like it's jarring, and like every time
it takes you out a little bit.
Yeah, and it's the point in the album where I stop paying attention a bit, and then like, because even Rave on You, like if Flash in the Pan was out, I would probably say Rave on You is my least favorite track, even though I think it's actually really good. But again, it's kind of it goes on for a long time, and there's a lot going on, but it's not dancey like the rest. It's not as dancey as the rest of the album. And he
definitely, I think he excels with his shorter tracks.
I think that's very much the case. But
he's not as good at developing as he is about like laying down some funky, fresh beats.
Yeah, I mean, this album is just, man, it's good stuff, and this is one that I will be continually listening to. I mean, I've already been continually listening to this album. Like,
great.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. This is a real good one. I can't believe you didn't recommend this to me before. How dare you, you bastard?
I mean, there's a lot of music I haven't recommended to you.
Yeah, fair enough. So, well, I mean, likewise, and I think that we're going to be doing more of these. So hopefully everybody likes these, because
you're getting more of them.
Yeah, this is a good format. I like this format a lot. So I have so many fucking. Have you okay, we won't go into every single album that I need you to listen to, but like there's so many that I want to recommend to you like in the near future.
I mean, do you know which 2 albums you want to recommend to me next time? Because I know what one I want to recommend you, I think.
Oh, you want to do another one of these? I mean, I'm ready to do another one of these.
Well, I'm saying, why don't we give our audience a chance to do some, homework?
Okay, fair enough. Well, then, okay.
In a month or 2, there'll be another music podcast, and you can have listened to the albums already.
So, next time, everybody, I think we're going to do another one of these because this was wildly successful. So I am recommending that we listen to, wow, I can't even pronounce that.
Yeah, good luck.
Vara Haitliya by Oransi Pazazu. I will just link that in the description because I don't think that I'm going to be able to pronounce that. And then The Beyond by Cult of Luna. Those are my 2 albums.
Yes, and I am recommending Pilgrimage by Ohm, that's O-M, and I'm also recommending J Byers by Dorian Concept.
All right. We'll see you next time. So, do your homework, or again, don't, but
whatever you want. We're not your mom.
It would be better if you did. All right. See ya.